A few weeks ago, unexpectedly, I was in one of the most moving spots on earth. I was unaware that it was there. Fortunately, one of our tiny group of 5 was keen on getting there. It was something that you could pass by easily if you weren't aware. But when in there, one is moved forevermore. And it's one of the most unspoilt parts of Jerusalem. Here we are. You can perhaps just about see what's going on there. We saw on the plaque outside what looked to be a bit of wall an indication that this was the prison. So in we went, even though we knew it belonged to the Greeks. That is its preservation, perhaps, because they leave things as they are. So in we went, and we were knocked straight away by clouds of sweet-smelling incense. And then we saw a venerable monk, actually not that old, but obviously a man of prayer. So we were straight away put in mode. And we went in and stooped our head. First of all, I saw in Greek this plaque saying, "The cave of the robbers." Leistes is a robber. So I looked and went inside, and it was a bit grim. Not a 5-star hotel, I would say, not much in the way of hygiene, a hole. So we looked and were puzzled. And I thought, one of the 2 thieves went up and the other down after this night of waiting for the end. And I thought, well, maybe that's all that's there, but not a bit of it. Came out and found, wow! Here was where the Lord was, and he was given special treatment, VIP treatment, I would say, and here we are. We were moved, at least to interior tears. It was extremely moving to see the kind and gentle treatment they'd given the Son of Man on that night. If you look at it, you think that it's a kind of toilet. The rock is there on which the gentleman is allowed to sit. But then what happens? His 2 feet have to be put, first of all, into these 2 holes chiseled in this rock. So you've got these 2 holes on either side where he sat. It doesn't stop there. His feet are there in those holes, and we noticed that on either side of this throne of glory were in the rock, still remaining, I think, but certainly places for them to be held, rings which would hold his arms in this position all night. All night. Not the most comfortable night's sleep, I would say. And he couldn't move 1 centimetre all night. We have in the visions of Blessed Anne Catherine Emmerich the moment at which dawn starts to come on Good Friday. There's a tiny glimmer of light which somehow comes into that dungeon, and he puts his eyes somehow in that direction, and with, yes, a tremor of joy, greets the morn of redemption, waited by all the centuries of history, even though he knows what's ahead. And so, eventually, he's loosened from there, and we know the story. You'll hear it in full on Good Friday. Do you know that the Gospels, all 4 of them, have this in common? It's a detailed description of the Passion, to which is added on the rest. Not one of them abbreviates the Passion. Our Blessed Lady, on the Saturday before this day, actually on the Friday, was for centuries remembered in her compassion. And actually, in the renewed Missal, they have reintroduced the alternative of the old prayer, of the compassion of Our Lady on that day. Com means with. Passion is the suffering. A patient is a sufferer. Our Lady, with a mystical priesthood, offered up the sacrifice, not only on Calvary, but on the level of the will all the way through, and was in intimate union with him at a distance, knowing all that was going on. You can perhaps more easily see this because there are brighter colours there. When in formation in those years in solitude in France, in the Carthusian life, as one goes into one's cell, what is called the inner cell, the cumbiculum, which is a scriptural word for the inner chamber where one lives, the oratory in there and everything, every time that one goes in from the main cloister there, one meets a statue of Our Lady, and one kneels before it, says the Ave Maria, hence the name of the antechamber, the Ave Maria, and kisses whatever is before one, and then, only then, one goes into the cell. But the statue that we had in our Ave Maria was Our Lady of the Precious Blood. She was herself with a crown on her head, holding her infant and presenting it to the world, and he was holding between his little hands this chalice of his blood, which he had received as the instrument of our salvation from our Blessed Lady. This redemption had to have the human link. Now, when in Italy, some years ago, we were all puzzled by what was happening nearby, especially when it happened in the hands of the bishop. This statue started to bleed blood, real blood, because it was analysed. And we wondered why it was analysed and came out to be male blood, not female blood. A great puzzlement over all these 50 million people in Italy who saw it on Rai Uno, because it happened in the hands of the bishop, therefore couldn't be kept quiet. He had other ideas, he was sequestering it, at least for examination. And then we copped on. She is weeping for the abuse of her own blood. She is weeping for the abuse of the redemption, especially where it touches us in the sacramental sphere. She hurts when her son, his body and his blood are badly used on earth. And from her throne of glory, she sees this filth which surrounds the altar. Can you just about see this? It's a little child, the Holy Infant, peeping through the door of the tabernacle. He is upset. Do you know why? Everyone is there doing everything but what they should be doing, talking to each other and forgetting him whose house it is. This was printed in the context of what they had found in the words said by little Jacinta before she petered out in hospital in Lisbon. Jacinta of Fatima, the youngest beatified in the church. Listen. And remember, she had great gifts and she knew things. Noticing that many visitors chatted and laughed in the chapel in the orphanage in Lisbon, where she spent her dying days, little Blessed Jacinta the seer of Fatima, asked Mother Godino to warn them of the lack of respect for the real presence this represented. When this did not bring about a satisfactory result, she asked that the cardinal be advised that, this is in red print, Our Lady does not want people to talk in church. And they put this on the back of it. The Blessed Sacrament. If you are going to talk in my house, please talk to me. I am in the tabernacle. I am the Blessed Sacrament. Tell me all your problems, and between us, we can solve them all. Please don't distract anyone else from talking to me in my house. Thank you, your Saviour. It's enough to have one's mobile phone switched on for that to be contravened, because potentially one is available. Our Holy Father, or then John Paul II, he has this document on the Blessed Sacrament, which he published on the occasion of the Eucharist, which he inaugurated at that time. And in it, he has it all in easily understood terms. I was talking to a Polish priest who had links just the other day, and do you know that he would be found, if one was looking for him, in chapel, prostrate. He had the instinct of going into the chapel for a word, and he would go on his nose until it came. He knew what it meant to receive from on high the word for the church. And he speaks discreetly, but really in this volume, of what it meant to him to be consoled by our God on earth in the tabernacle and in the monstrance. If our Holy Father could spend even his short nights there in adoration, what of ourselves? It's our choice whether we take seriously the gift that God has given us, the greatest gift to man, the perpetuation of Calvary until the end of time, or not. This Thursday, in union with all our brethren across the world, because Easter is common to us all this time, it happens about once every 5 years, East and West, on Holy Thursday, millions of communions will take place. Many will be well prepared, and in the East, usually the only day in which people receive Holy Communion, they will all go to confession in the preceding days and get the local priest's blessing. In the West, what proportion will there be of prepared communions? How many of these communions will be yet again a thorn in the head of the Saviour and in his wounded heart? It's important, friends, that we in this week switch off what is not God and live step by step as friends to our friend what he has undergone for us personally. Other things can wait this week. Remember how the Lord himself scolded Judas for wanting to make use of money and therefore efficiency, rather than the gratuity of those who just took him when he was there. The poor you'll always have with you, translate. Your occupations you'll always have with you. Me, you do not have always. Remember that every time you have the Lord and Saviour in your heart. This is the time when he wants your attention. Other things will be right at the right time. Bread